Okay, so today we are going to be talking about Thriller Bark, the arc where nothing happens. I finally get the joke. I was really confused for a long time reading those comments because a lot happened in this arc, but I get it now. So Thriller Bark is chapters 442 to 489, volumes 46 through 50. I'm not going to have it on the screen. Apparently I'm done putting arc names on the screen as a whole, or even looking up arc names, because I've gotten so many messages and DMs saying even the arc names themselves up to this point, or past this point, may be spoilers, so stop looking at them. It is funny, the One Piece fandom is the most fiercely protective about spoilers than I've probably ever encountered, which I appreciate because I am trying to not get spoiled for anything. I'm not watching any One Piece videos on YouTube right now because I don't want the algorithm to start recommending me things and then for me to get spoiled through a title or a thumbnail. But just yesterday, I sat down to read some of the top comments of the video that went up last Friday, and the top 6 comments on the video, 5 of them were saying, "Murphy, don't read comments," which I appreciate. I'm glad that you guys also want me to experience a series without any spoilers, and so far, I've done that. But anyway, so we're talking about Thriller Bark today, which is its own saga, it seems, before we get into another long saga, which I kind of understand because Water 7 Saga was very emotional, 2 really back-to-back emotional arcs, and even post Enies Lobby had really emotional moments. And I imagine that Zoro is wrong, and we've got more coming. But this was a nice little reprieve. It was a light, fun, and very different sort of arc, sort of setting and themes that we got to explore before we got into what I assume is going to be more, you know, traditional One Piece islands that we visit. But I really liked it. Based off of the discussions that we've had over on my Discord, it seems like this is kind of an arc that kind of some people like and some people really don't like. So I'll explain why I like it. So if you watched any of my other videos, you probably already know that this One Piece, I'm relatively new to mangas as a whole. So what I traditionally read are traditional novels, and Gothic novels are one of my favorite subgenres. I love Gothic horror and Gothic thrillers. Daphne du Maurier is one of my favorite authors. So this very Gothic feeling island / floating pirate ship is really on brand for me. It really fits. It was something that I love so much. This very spooky, creepy, unsettling setting mixed with the standard lighthearted humor of this series as a whole was really a really fun dynamic that I think Oda handled really well for the most part. Plus, Gothic classics especially, but Gothic books in general tend to have a very slow-paced, unsettling setup and then a very explosive end, which is what Thriller Bark did. So it suits my Gothic-loving self quite well. And while vampires and zombies, while being Gothic, are not my thing, hauntings and ghosts are, and I really liked parts of this arc. This arc did have one very big downside for me, one scene that I really didn't like, which we'll get into later, but as a whole, I had a good time with this arc. It's not nearly as high up in my list as Water 7 and Enies Lobby are, but it was a nice little reprieve, and for the most part, I really liked it. So the beginning of this arc was immediately awesome with, I think it was Luffy and Usopp that caught the shark, put it in their fish tank, the shark ate all the fish, and then they were instantly angry about it, and now suddenly Luffy doesn't want this shark as a pet, he wants to eat it because how dare it do what sharks do. You have Sanji's creepy ghost story, and then I think it was Usopp and Chopper who were instantly afraid and wanted anti-ghost stuff, and then us meeting Brooks, where Luffy, without needing to know Brooks at all, without needing any context whatsoever of who Brooks is, what his motivations are, anything, Luffy he's interesting, so hey, you want to join our crew? At one point, Brooks mentions he's a musician, so Luffy is just losing his mind. You gotta join our crew. And this is one of those things, One Piece has a lot of reoccurring bits, which is something that I love. And this is one of those reoccurring bits that I just eat up. I think it's so funny that Luffy, he does this later on in the arc too. Again, he just meets some zombies and he's like, oh, you look interesting. Want to be a part of our crew? He's just, anybody that looks mildly interesting to him, he is ready to have on board. He doesn't need to know anything about them. And the crew is always right behind him screaming, no, you can't just invite people to be in the crew. So we have some wonderful moments with the crew as well. Frankie is an excellent ship hand, and he built the mini Mary to go along with the Sunny. And that's just so sweet. That is such a thoughtful thing that Frankie did. I love what was it? Nami and a few went onto the island first, and then Sanji is concerned for Nami's safety, and Luffy's just mad at Nami and wants her back because he'd like to ride the mini Mary too. And it's just good stuff. But then once we're all on the island, it's instantly that Gothic feel that's kind of spooky with still that lighthearted Luffy feel to it, One Piece standard lighthearted humor. And I think that Oda balanced the two so well with the Cerberus that they fought off, which, you know, it had some stitch marks all over it. So we already know that there's going to be some sort of Frankenstein type thing happening here, something in that realm. But I love that Luffy wants to tame the Cerberus until it bites him, and then as soon as it lets him go, then he's just like, dumb dog, and fighting it off and knocking it out. We have the creepy paintings that come out of the walls, and, you know, so many very haunted things happening here, which I love. I also really liked that Oda actually split up our crew in weak versus strong categories. We had Nami and Usopp and Chopper, and then we had all of our much more strong characters in the other group. And I really liked the way he did this because, one, it let our weak characters shine a little bit more, who, you know, these three are very often, well, not really Usopp anymore, but these three are very often overshadowed by our powerful players. And it gave us some time to really not be able to let them be overshadowed. There's no one else to look at, and so we have to look at them a little bit more, which I thought was really clever. But then I also love the dynamic of seeing them meet the Cerberus, meet the zombies, meet the haunted paintings, meet the doctor? Yeah, they met the doctor too. I loved seeing the three of them interacting with these very haunted things and being overwhelmed by them and nearly being taken over by them a few times. And then we have our strong crew that comes behind them and that encounters each of these things, but for them, it's like one punch, you're out, and they're easily overpowering these things, which was such a fun dynamic to be able to encounter each of these obstacles in two ways with two very different groups of our crew. I thought that was so smart, and I thought that was so fun. And again, we still have our trademark humor. I think one of my favorite panels now of this entire series, not just the arc, is when the zombie popped up, and Luffy, what is in Luffy's head? He just looks at the zombie with a straight face and then walks over and shoves it back in the ground. I mean, what was in your head, man? I so badly want to know what goes on in this kid's head because I don't know. It's brilliant. And then we also had the humor of, Luffy... After Luffy shoves the zombie back in the ground, the zombie pops back up and it's mad, and Luffy's like, an old man with severe injuries? And he's like, I'm a zombie. And then later we have an old man with severe injuries come up and Luffy's like, an old man with severe injuries? And Sanji goes, it's a zombie. And then the guy says, no, I'm an old man with severe injuries. And then Sanji gets mad at him, just be a zombie, stop confusing him. Like, why? The only thing that they encountered here at the beginning of this arc, the strong crew encountered that actually took them out, was the ghost that when they pass through you are depressed. And Obviously I like this because of the later on what happens with Usopp, who isn't actually affected by it. He's just pretending because he's already so very negative that they can't affect him. And that is a great joke that is also desperately sad. But I also really like this because I don't know, I have a theory. Maybe I'm wrong, but it seems like each time that the depression ghost hit them, when they fall down, they say specific things, and it seems like what they're saying gives a little insight into their character. When they're depressed, when they're down, when they're in their lowest mental state, what are the things that they're saying? Zoro is saying stuff like, I don't deserve to be in the same room as you people. So him, always being kind of standoffish and being kind of aloof and, Zoro. He actually has a lot of strong respect for these people and maybe even thinks more highly of them than himself in his lowest moments. But the same with Sanji and the others. Each one of them, if you look closely at what they say when they're in their depressive mental states, I think kind of gives us a little bit of insight into a little bit more of who they are and what they really are thinking a little bit more. I don't know, maybe I'm reading too much into it, but I don't think so. Maybe it's something. Okay, so we do get introduced to several new antagonists, so I guess we'll talk about them for a minute. So we have the balloon guy, the balloon shadow stealer, Mariah? And he's like our main big bad. He's one of the 7 warlords of the sea. And he wants to be the pirate king, but he also can't be bothered to lift a finger to do it. He wants his minions or his shadows to do the work, which I actually think is very interesting. I think it's a cool way to play an antagonist. Up to this point, our antagonists have always been very powerful, very motivated, and very driven, whereas Balloon Guy, Mariah, is more of, I want this and I deserve it and I'll have it, go fight for me, which I kind of like. That's typically not an antagonist that I care much about because it's like, well, you're not scary then. You're not going to be scary just because the author told me you're scary. But because that's so different from how the antagonists usually are in the series, it was kind of interesting to see that play out. But also, if you don't know this about me, Peter Pan is my favorite standalone book of all time. That's not pluralized. And The Gentleman Bastards is my favorite series, if you want to check out some really cool books. But anyway, Peter Pan is my favorite standalone. And Peter Pan has a lot to do with shadows and shadows being important to you. And Mariah, who, I'm probably saying his name wrong now that I think about it. Oh well. He deserves a girly name. Mariah, who plays with shadow magic, I'm very attached to the concept of shadow magic as a whole, and I really liked exploring it in the way that it was explored in this arc. Hogback, probably, is not the most interesting antagonist to me, but what I liked about him the most was that he gave Chopper a lot of opportunities to shine, and Chopper isn't really a character that, he's definitely not my favorite Straw Hat. I don't dislike him, but he's one that gets overshadowed really easily for me. And I really liked that Vampire Doctor Guy gave Chopper the opportunity to shine because Chopper's basic ideals of being a doctor were directly challenged with who Hogback has become. I'm not sure I'm saying his name right. And so Chopper has to go through kind of reckoning with his hero being a villain, but then he directly challenges him as well, and he gets a really great moment of letting the others go on so that he can face off against this person who has essentially betrayed him, even though it's in ideology and mentality and letting him down as a hero. And I thought that was really interesting. I really liked that moment for Chopper that this doctor allowed us to have. Absalom, I don't like. His entire motivation is I want to dominate Nami and force her into marriage. And that's just what he does over and over again, just trying to force her into marriage over and over and over and over. And it wasn't interesting and it wasn't funny. So I didn't like his character at all. In fact, I hated his character, and I'm disappointed that he survived in the end and that he'll probably come back around because he's not someone that I need to spend any more time with. But then we have my ghost girl. She is the shining star of this entire arc. She is the one that she's my new favorite side character, she's my new favorite antagonist, and she's my new favorite future crew member. I know it won't happen, but let me dream. She is the embodiment of what I love out of Gothic fiction. She herself is creepy, she controls ghosts, she's haunted, she's able to take her soul or her spirit out of her body and become a ghost herself, ghost-like something herself. She can get bigger, she can change her shape, she can go through people. The whole gag where she tells Usopp that she's going to crush his heart and she puts her hands inside of him and she says, I'm gonna crush your heart because I have access to it. And he's freaking out and she's taunting him like this, and then it's all she's like, no, I can't actually do that. It's like her morbid, creepy, disturbing humor when Bible guy asks her where does she want to go for vacation, and her answer is a dreary, dark castle where she can sing songs. What is it? Songs of curses. Put the castle on water and make it haunted, and that's my dream vacation too, or at least my dream novel to read. I don't know that I actually want to go there myself, but she is. And plus, on top of that, she's also just adorable and sweet and charming. And she is my new favorite thing. I love her so much. And there's more goodness to come about her. We'll get to it when we get to it. So I haven't mentioned this yet, and pretty much everybody that watches my videos seems to be people that are way far ahead of me in the series, and they're just enjoying watching someone who has no idea what they're talking about scream for a while. So I probably don't need to remind anyone of this, but the main magic of this island, the main conflict, the main fear of this island, other than Pervy Absalom, is the shadow magic. It's the fact that Mariah can clip a shadow out of someone and then steal your shadow, so now you can't go out in the sunlight without disappearing, and there's consequences, and then the shadow goes inside something else, and that makes that something else powerful, and that something else, a zombie, will obey Balloon Guy's every wish. So this was all interesting to me, and I like the idea of it, I like the concept of it, I found it really interesting when Brook introduced it all to us, but when it started affecting our crew, I don't know, I thought we were having a lighthearted, nice little side quest. I'm actually pretty upset about how upsetting and emotionally draining this arc was. When our crew started getting picked off and started disappearing one by one, that freaked me out. Stupid older Murphy, not older, younger Murphy, was wanting higher stakes and was mad that nobody was dying or having long-lasting injuries. It was always something that they could recover from pretty easily in the next couple of chapters. And the stakes have been raised so much in the last few arcs, and I don't like it. I would like my non-stakes back, please, because I love these characters too much, and when I think they're in danger, it causes me legitimate stress. So when Sanji and Zoro and then eventually Luffy were disappearing and getting picked off, and then they weren't coming right back, and I know about this shadow magic, that scared me and I didn't like it. And then when it's confirmed to me that their shadows actually have been taken from them and put into zombies, it's not okay. I wasn't okay. I actually thought we were losing a crew member in this arc, and it looked like it was going to be one of our strongest crew members, and I'm just not good with that. I did like that I could easily pick out who had whose shadow. As soon as Brook explained to us the mechanics of this shadow magic and how the shadow takes on the personality of the person that it enters, it's just loyal to Balloon Guy, that made it really easy for me to then from there go, oh, okay, the samurai guy is Brook, right? And the zombie, the little bitty zombie that says that he'll never hit a woman, which is exactly the same line that Sanji said in the Bubble Girl arc. I knew which one was Sanji. Luffy identified which one was Zoro right away. And then who am I missing? Oh, right. Well, I mean, Luffy, we saw that shadow go in him. Oh, Hog Woman. That's the one I was thinking of. The Hog pirate lady. You know who I'm talking about. It was obvious to tell which one she was too. Well, once we met her human form. Okay, moving on. So I like that. I like that it was easy to see and to piece together as we're getting more clues about how this magic works and about all those things. It's easy for me, the reader, to say, aha, so that moment here belongs to this. And, you know, I like that kind of stuff. I also love Zombie Luffy. Zombie Luffy is so much fun because he's still Luffy. He still is this careless, airheaded creature, but this time in a massive, giant body, accidentally knocking over buildings, still having the silly kind of fighting style, and easily being tricked and wanting to be Pirate King, so he's kind of pushing against the control that Balloon Mariah has on him, and he's steering the ship wrong and messing up everything. I mean, destroying the island, putting it off course, just being a absolute chaos, a force of chaos, just like Luffy is, except even less tamed and in a much more destructive body, which was really fun. It was also super sweet that Zombie Luffy was still after being the Pirate King, and I just wanted to let him go off for a little while. Just go have your adventure. Except that we needed the shadow back. Oh, we also had a lot of really fun fights along the way. I think one of my favorites is probably the one with Robin when she's fighting the spider thing, and what she did to get them out of it, working with Frankie, was really fun, as well as mixed with a ton of awesome humor in the midst of all of this craziness that's happening on this island, like when we got back to the three bodies of Luffy, Sanji, and Zoro, and what the zombies did to them when they put them on the ship, followed by all of their initial reactions when they first wake up, which just fits them so well. I also really enjoyed seeing Frankie's dynamic with this crew, and I think it was smart for Oda to bring Frankie into this crew and not give him a huge focus in his very next arc. We're still relying on the people that we have known for a long time, that we love for a long time, and we're seeing their dynamics shift. We're seeing their dynamics play in a different way, but Frankie is more of a side character and one that doesn't shine very often, but that's working really nicely with the crew. And I think that that's a smart way to integrate someone into the crew this late into the series. And I'm sure we're not going to stop integrating people, but I think he did a really good job with it. Some of Frankie's shining moments are like when he built the bridge randomly while they're trying to figure out how to get out of the situation. They don't know how they can progress. And Frankie's like, look, I just built a bridge really fast. It's not really great. Or when he builds the sky steps, is that what they're called? He had a lot of great craftsman moments, and I love that that's his role with this crew, but he also has his ridiculous moments, like wanting them to, what was it called? He essentially wanted them to turn into a transformer. And Robin's response is, I find it embarrassing as a human. That is so cold and so Robin, and Robin is easily one of my favorite Straw Hats because of these little moments like this, plus her powers are incredible. But I will say, while I really love it every time Robin fights, when she goes up against someone, at this point, I don't understand why she doesn't just always squeeze the balls off of the people that she's fighting, because that seemed to be really effective the one time she tried it. Brook had some good moments in this arc as well. While he's not a character that I'm attached to very much yet, he is a character that provided a lot of information for us, the readers, as well as for the Straw Hats in this new island and with this new magic system, but he also had some really fun conflict moments and fighting, and when he joined the crew in the fight, again, I think it was smart that Oda made him easily overshadowed, very much a side character, duller, but still with some shining moments, and I thought that that was really cool. But the character that I think that shined the most in this arc is easily Zoro. There was his fight with the swordsman and how he said, you're known for, I think it was slaying a dragon. I don't even know if dragons exist, but that's awesome. Let's fight. You'll be a worthy opponent. I've always wanted to meet you or fight you or something like that. And that's such a great line. Then their fight itself was so fun to watch. Them running along the rooftops and again, just destroying everything in their wake. And then when the battle finally ended and Zoro's response was something along the lines of, the fact that you feel shame is enough because, you know, you're a swordsman who lost a fight. That's how you should feel. And then he got to keep the sword and like now he has his third sword because that one broke in the other arc. So now he has 3 again and he's learning to fight with that. That's great. According to my notes, it is now time to talk about the scene that I hated the most in this arc. I was really excited when Sanji came in to save her, because I love that this crew always has each other's backs. But the scene where he went to save her, which was really cool, ended up totally sucking. So the scene back at in the bath, back at the beginning of the arc, where Absalom is spying on Nami in the bath and then pulls her out of the bath and while she's naked shoves her against the wall and tells her that he's going to force her into marriage with her, is not a scene I liked. But he's the villain, so fine. But then when Sanji confronts Absalom, and this whole time I think he's confronting him because he's saving one of his crew members and because he's being Sanji, instead he declares, he exposes what the clear fruit is, and he declares that he's always wanted the clear fruit so that he can do the same stuff that Absalom has been doing, so that he can also violate women's privacy, and so that he can also be a terrible person, apparently. Not only does he say that he wants to do all the stuff that Absalom has been doing, our villain has been doing, but he also declares, even though I don't have the clear fruit, I'm still gonna do it. I'm gonna go on and I am going to be a pervert too. And that was really disappointing to read. That was a really disappointing Sanji moment for me, for someone who initially wasn't a fan of Sanji and who has been completely won over by him. That was a disappointing line. And anytime I've brought up kind of issues with Oda's pervy humor that he puts into this series, the 2 most common comments that I get in videos are, this is just the way manga is, this is how humor is in manga, and this is written for teenage boys. That's bullshit if you want my honest opinion, because one, just because something is common in a form of literature doesn't mean that I'm required to shrug it off. I can still, you know, be critical of it and not like it and say that it's bad. But 2, also, the fact that it's for teenage boys makes it worse to me, because I take issue with the entire mentality of, I want something from a woman, she won't give it to me, so I will forcibly take it. That's a problem in general. And building mistreating women into the hero's journey, the character that we're rooting for, in a fantasy designated for teens, and like making that acceptable and funny, that's the excuse, is weird to me. I don't get that. And the narrative has been pushing Sanji as a gentleman for a while now. That's a concept that's been pushed a lot in the last several arcs. And him making the transition from a simp to a creep flies in the face of that gentleman narrative. And I know that it was supposed to be funny, it was all written as a joke, but it actually really damaged the character for me, which sucks because this is a character that I love. Oh, now we get to talk about Usopp. So one of my favorite scenes in this arc was the fight between Usopp and Ghost Girl. Perona? What's her name? Ghost Girl. We get to see a lot of her powers in action. We get to learn more about how her powers work and how she controls them, which just, I love her so much. But then the way Usopp fought her, the fact that he was the only one that could fight her because he's such a negative person, which again, hilarious, but so sad. But then the way that he fought her with solving the mystery of how she was able, or like why she ran away and then suddenly she was powerful and confrontive, and how she was controlling her powers, you know, that he revealed that she was projecting herself in spirit form and her body was still vulnerable. Then defeating her with trickery, essentially, with the sticky impact dial that he sent, with the fake beetles that he gave her like a mental terror over, and then the balloon thing. It all culminated into the biggest panic attack that ended up being what defeated her, or at least what stopped her for the moment. And it was such a shining moment for Usopp. I'm loving that instead of powering up Usopp with, you know, him just becoming stronger and becoming a better fighter, he still is the way that he is, but he's gaining more confidence, which makes him run away from battles less and step up to the plate more. But his weaknesses are still there. He's just having tools and having clever thinking, which clever thinking has always been something that his character has had, that kind of like cool, rational thought in the moment of chaos around him, as well as thinking ahead and planning. And he's always kind of been this character, but now with the tools that he has and with the confidence that he's gaining, mixed with that brain that he has, is creating such really clever fight scenes for him, where he's able to shine in his own way instead of just fighting the same way that some of the more powerful characters do. So this fight with Zombie Luffy went on forever, but in the best possible way. I really especially liked this fight with Zombie Luffy because of how much the crew has worked together in this fight. Usually in fights, they each have their unique abilities that they handle, and it all kind of culminates into teamwork. But this time it was just legitimate teamwork. It was calling out orders, each different character calling out orders. It was Chopper realizing the weak point in the arm, and Zoro telling the team, we can't just hold this monster off until Luffy gets the job done. He could be tricked. It could take longer. We may die. The sun may come out and we may disappear, but we need to make sure that this zombie goes down so that in the end, if Luffy's held off, he still has a chance to get his shadow back at least. And then the team coming around him when he explains that to them, the way each different character, I already said that, each different character would call out different commands and they were working together and switching off. The teamwork in this fight was so satisfying to watch and to read. And then even when Luffy gets kind of captured by the other pirate crew on the island and forcibly put 100 shadows inside of him so that he kind of becomes a monster himself. His fight was great, but then again, when he goes down and the team has to gather around and they think they have to finish the fight for him, it's just, there were so many moments in this, huge long fight that it kept seeming like it was over, but it kept coming back around. There were so many moments of teamwork, of camaraderie, and of loyalty. Luffy fighting as a 100 shadow wielder monster was awesome, but then also Balloon Mariah ends up going inside of Monster Luffy's tummy to kind of co-pilot, to control Monster Luffy fighting against him because he's like, let me do this. This is fun. I want to do it. And, there were so many moments of the fight changing slightly, but even as the fight kept changing, the team kept being fully a team, and I loved it. Oh, actually, also, Monster Luffy he wanted Mariah to take a step back and let him fight, but then he was also super pleased to be controlled like a robot because he's like a robot, and that's funny, and that is so very Luffy. Along with all this, we also learned that Blackbeard, who I called Whitebeard throughout the entire last video, I'm so sorry, Blackbeard is replacing Crocodile, so he's a new 7 Warlord of the Sea, which... oh, I'm so happy about that because his powers are so cool. This is going to be great. But then we also meet another warlord of the sea, the Bible guy. So he's very interesting to me with his paw powers. He's essentially been built by someone. So he's basically made of steel is how I interpreted it. They really couldn't get a hit in on him. And I really like seeing our team come up against an antagonist that they can't just punch their way out of, an antagonist that they have to really think their way around. I think that leads to fight scenes that will never be able to become stale because we always have to figure out a new solution. I like that our team isn't the most powerful crew in this world. I think that that makes these oppositions so much more interesting. So he's interesting to me just for the fact that the team can't punch their way through him. But he's also interesting to me because he disappeared my ghost girl. That doesn't make him interesting, actually. That makes me mad at him. Where's my ghost girl? I hope he put her in her vacation spot. That would be really sweet. But I will say, she better come back around. You saved Absalom and Doctor and Balloon Guy. If you're saving them, Ghost Girl better come back around too, because everybody comes back around in this series, so I can trust that she will, but if she doesn't, Oda, you and I are having a talk. But anyway, this warlord is also very interesting to me because of the bargain that he made. After Balloon Guy was defeated, Bible Guy then he needed Luffy's head. Well, first he tried to get the crew to betray Luffy to get his head, which, come on, man, do you know who you're talking to? But then he was like, all right, fine, I'll just take it myself. Zoro steps up and says, take my head in place of his. Too much loyalty, not too much. Keep bringing it in. And then Sanji steps up and actually says, like, he wants to save Zoro. He says, what good will it do if now you can't accomplish your dream, Zoro? No, take my head. The government doesn't recognize me yet, but I assure you, I will be a force to be reckoned with if I'm not the one that you take. Oh, that was a good scene for him. He even says, give the team my regards and start looking for a new cook. Oh gosh, I love these moments. I love these moments for these characters where they're just laying it all on the line for their friends. That is like it's a kryptonite. And Bible Guy makes a bargain or makes a deal with them that he's going to push out all of Luffy's pain and suffering and put it in a bubble, and Zoro has to take it. And essentially, he's too weak, so it will kill him. And Zoro doesn't hesitate. Sticks his hand in there, and he takes the pain. He takes the agony. He takes it all from Luffy. And Warlord leaves. And some really great moments happen here. We have the nothing happened moment, which I finally understand the reference for, which is just such a good... everything that he took and what it must have done to him. And his response is, nothing. Nothing happened. Whew. I can't even put into words how great how much that means to me. Not to me, but, you know, how hard that hits. Then Luffy is still passed out. Oh, no, wait, Zoro, sorry. Zoro is still passed out. He's not going to recover quickly from this one, or at least, you know, it took him a minute. And the zombies come back and they're like, we saw what happened, let's tell the world. And Sanji drags them away and he's like, you tell me everything that happened. And then he forces them not to say anything because he wants to respect Zoro's wishes, that Zoro doesn't want the crew to know. He just wants it to be his burden to bear, and that's the end of that. And the fact that Sanji is afraid for Zoro's life, is the one that seeks him out, and that is the one that shuts everyone up to protect his secret. I love the dynamic between these two because they hate each other so much, but there's clearly so much love there. And it's good stuff. Oh, I forgot a really important part of the fight that I loved so much. I loved that the crew was accepting of the fact, including Robin, because Robin's shadow gets stolen too at some point. I love the fact that the crew, including our three most powerful players other than Luffy, are ready and willing to fight to the very end and to fight to sunrise, knowing that that will kill them. No return. all for the sake of Luffy potentially getting his shadow back in the end. They just need to take down this foe so that he can, and so that the rest of the shadows can be released. Although, admittedly, the rest of the shadows being released is really not high on their priority list. It's just kind of like a bonus, cool, good job, you got your thing back too, but we were really fighting for our thing. Which I love that for our crew. I love that our crew isn't just like the good guys coming in to save the day, that there's always that level of, yeah, we'll help you out too, we're here, but I mean, we're really here for us. But not only that, and the whole scene where they actually did start disappearing, no, that scared me. That freaked me out. Not good with that. But then too, also, when Luffy is switching to gear 2, and the whole crew is just standing behind, watching, unconcerned. Even though the sun's coming out, they're all about to die, no one's flinching, they're just watching Luffy get to gear 2, because they're ready for the fight to be done. In fact, Zoro says, the battle, we've already won this battle. Oh, and another great Zoro line was when he told Luffy, you take the last hit, Luffy. It's your shadow. I love that he let Luffy finish it. Even though any of them could have finished it. Any of them could have, because it was the end. But it was like, this is Luffy's shadow. He's the one that should see it done. Okay, my voice is actually disappearing, so I still need to talk about one more thing, but I'll keep it kind of brief for my own sanity, because it's too painful, but then also for the sake of you not having to listen to me like this for very long. At the end of this arc, we also got the backstory of Brook and the little whale. And I actually genuinely don't know how to break this one down, because it was just one big emotional ball of pain. Brook's story is sad, especially the part where we go back and forth between the now and the then, singing the same song and watching his crew disappear, seeing them turn into a quartet, then a trio, then a duo, then a solo. As they're dying, as the song is being said, like that hurt. But then also seeing everything that the little whale went through, and how this all affected this whale that, I don't know, 1,000,000 years ago was just some absurdist thing that we dealt with. It's truly amazing to me that these little moments early on in the series that felt like just like a weird side thing we did come back around. I know I keep saying that. Come back around to not just be significant to the story, but to actually pack such an emotional punch, like to really, really hurt me. And for me to not only care about this fictional whale, not fictional in the story, but you know what I mean? Not only care about it, but to actually like hurt so much for it. Anyway, Brooks is part of our crew now. Brooks is part of our crew now. And while he's not a character that I really care about that much, I'm not a fan of puns, which, you know, go ahead and unsubscribe. I understand that makes me very unlikable. I'm not a fan of puns. And, you know, his reoccurring panty humor is not funny to me. But I don't dislike him necessarily. He served a great purpose in this arc to be kind of like an information dump, which isn't a negative thing. I'm a huge fan of magic systems and world building, so him being an information dump endeared me to him because I wanted to learn more, and he provided the knowledge. So he served that purpose, but then also, you know, him coming in with the salt in the battles, and him, you know, he played these small little things that ended up being big, and so I don't dislike him, but he definitely hasn't won me over at this point. But I'm looking forward to having him win me over. And then finally, I said I had one more thing to talk about, and here we are on thing number 3. Finally, the crew promises me, now that we've gotten through our ghost pirate section, which was satisfying. Not what I was expecting, but satisfying. Now, finally, we're going to get our mermaids. But no, I know it's not true, because we learn that there is this magic piece of paper that you can have, that you can split and give one to you and one to you, and the magic piece of paper will always come back together. And so you can always know in what direction someone is. You won't know how far away they are, you won't know how long it'll take to get to them, but you can get to them this way. And Ace gave Luffy that paper. So Luffy has a way to find Ace. And Ace, that paper is dying. It's burning, it's disintegrating, which means that Ace is almost gone. And we found out when our baddies were on the ship escaping, they were reading the paper. I don't know how they got a paper. I don't know how papers are distributed to a floating pirate ship in an area where things disappear and things can go in but nothing can come out. But I'm not going to worry about that right now. They have a paper, and the paper tells them that Ace is in Impel Down. I'm more upset about this than I should be. So not only is Ace in Impel Down, where torturing and execution happens, but we know that he's fading and he's near gone. So we're going to Impel Down, I guess. I mean, I know Luffy, and I know that he's not gonna do anything with that except bulldoze his way back to this place that he just left to save his brother. And I'm so glad, because that's exactly what I want to do too. Forget the mermaids. Don't forget the mermaids. We're coming back to the mermaids. But go get your brother, man. Go get your brother and save him so that he can join the crew and you guys can sail off together and live happily ever after. That's the dream. That's the goal here. That's what we're doing. I barely know Ace. I knew him from that time we met him when he was looking for his brother and we talked to him for 2 seconds. And I know him from the last arc where we got to see him have a really cool fight with Blackbeard. But I don't know him very well at all. But I'm so attached to him. And a lot of that has to do with how much I know that Luffy loves him, and I want him to save his brother. So we're going to Impel Down, I assume. We better, and we're gonna save Ace. Anyway, I'm done now. I hope you enjoyed chatting with me about Thriller Bark. It seems to be an arc that some people love, some people hate, so now you know how I feel about it. Generally pretty good. I love the Gothic feel. I love the creepy feel. I love the general atmosphere of this entire arc. It was a nice side quest. It's not a place that I need to hang out any longer than we did. I'm excited to move on. I'm excited to go back to kind of more standard what One Piece feels like. But I thought this was a really nice break, and it was fun. Now I'm ready to go save Ace and then go hang out with some mermaids. Anyway, I'm tired of talking, so I would love to continue chatting with you about this in the comments. What are some of your favorite moments? What are some things that I didn't talk about? What are some details that I might have gotten wrong that happens inevitably every single time? Because I'm new to this medium and there's just a lot of this world to take in. But I do really like discussing it with you guys a lot. This is a passionate fan base, but an awesome, welcoming, kind one. So I'm enjoying chatting with you guys. I post videos every Tuesday through Friday. Check out my Discord if you want. I give live reactions there. It's a really good community of people just chatting and gushing about One Piece a lot. But anyway, I'm excited for what's to come, and I'll see you guys in my next One Piece Friday.